I'm Delitha Myers, and I'm here with Jason Davidson. He's one of our instructors and friends. So, Jason, you're going to teach a screenwriters class in October. You've done it before. What was it like before?
Well, the last time we taught it was during the pandemic, and it was over Zoom. And it made it difficult because, you can't make eye contact with the students, you can't relate, you can't really ask questions. Anything that, I wanted to show or display, I had to over-describe or send as a file before the class and, hope that everyone got it. Awkwardly, aim the camera at a whiteboard and hope that people could read it. And so I'm very excited to be able to teach the class in person. I think most teaching, really benefits from actually being in the space. And this is not going to be any different, despite the fact that it's not going to be acting. It's going to be talking about screenwriting, a different side of the same art. And I would say that that's actually what I'm most excited about, the way that I want to teach this class. That my approach is I really want to blend the science and the math of screenwriting. Because,
did you say math?
That's right.
So many people are going to sign up.
They're going to be very excited.
Yeah,
but wait for the next part of the sentence.
Okay.
To combine the science and the math of a screenplay, because that's, I think, something that a lot of first-time writers or non-writers don't realize, is that it goes beyond just Act 1, Act 2, Act 3, that there's actually a math to screenwriting. But take that science and math and marry it to the art of screenwriting and focus on both of those. A lot of times when I've attended a seminar or read a class on, read about or watched a class on screenwriting, a lot of times they tend to fixate on one aspect. I went to one that my friend Molly and I kind of laughed about afterwards because it was, 4 or 5 hours of taking us through a beat sheet. And that's neat and all, but you can do that in 20, 30 minutes and then move on to something else. So it's a very holistic approach to both the science and the art, like I said. And then one of the goals as we get later on into it, I want to turn that into the practical and give any student in the class, teach them how to take an idea that they have, as small as it is, and how do you take sort of the germ of an idea and expand it out into a full story, and take that story and know how to put it into the confines of a screenplay that communicates effectively and hits all of your goals, and really does a credit to your idea, and then also show that one of the interesting things about when you really start getting into, like I said, kind of the science of it, how it's actually going to help you take an idea and realize the ways in which it needs to be grown. As you start going through, what makes a story a story. And you can take that all the way back to Aristotle's Poetics. You start seeing all your tropes in Commedia dell'arte, and we still use them. So there's a universality in how we tell our stories. And by kind of understanding that, and I swear to you I'm not going to drown in the academics on this, but by taking those concepts, well, then you can take the germ of an idea and say, okay, well, what part of the story am I not telling yet? I have this great idea, and then you realize that you really just have 30 pages of a scene. Okay, so then what does that really mean? And learning how to develop an idea into a full story. Like I said, and being able to use the science and the concept of storytelling and screenwriting to flesh out the details you didn't know you needed.
Right. Yeah. So I'm going to give you some different scenarios. You have to pitch this class to me, okay?
No problem.
So let's say I have, I've been doing this thing for like 2 years as an actor. So I feel a little cocky. All right, so this is this person, okay? I'm a little cocky, and I'm like, I've already written like 5 shorts.
Right.
And they're so, like, my people tell me they're amazing. All 2 people that have read them. They're so good.
Yeah,
Why should I take your class?
Okay. Well, first I'd address the acting portion
Okay.
of this. I've taught a lot of classes at the Actor Studio. I've taught a lot of classes outside of the Actor Studio. I've been around, don't want to say exactly how old I am, but I've been in this game in some way, shape, or form for about 30 years.
Yeah.
And what I can say, something that I see over and over again out of actors on any level is not understanding the story that they're a part of. Coming into a scene and playing the lines or playing the moment or playing the character, but then reading through a scene and not being able to actually grasp the concept of, okay, well, what am I really telling here? What part of the story does this fit into? And without a greater knowledge, sometimes you can even be told, hey, this happens in Act 2, and this is when George shows up to meet this person who blah 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 blah. Well, a concept of screenwriting, a concept of storytelling, you can zero in a moment like that and realize, oh well, my part in this scene, just to fire from the hip here, I'm the obstacle in this scene. Okay, it's the actor overcoming obstacles, the character overcoming obstacles. I'm the obstacle, so I have to fight, but I ultimately have to lose so they can get through the story. And they're really in this scene because they're in love with this other girl, and I'm just the person at the store, and so on and so forth. So understanding how storytelling works, how screenplay works, helps you as an actor because you can place yourself in the moment.
Okay.
And so you're not just, again, playing the lines or, okay, well, I know the trope, so I'm just going to lean into the trope and, deliver here. But it lets you understand where you're at. As far as I've already done this, well, in your specific example, I would say there's a lot of difference between a short and a screenplay. A short, generally speaking, is one idea and you're done. Comedic short is usually, hey, I got this one punchline and I'm going to tell it in 6 minutes. A dramatic short is, here's one situation that I'm in and I'm just going to take it from A to B. There aren't acts, there aren't development, there, generally speaking, isn't character development, there aren't twists, there aren't finales, there aren't. It's one through line, one moment. And I've seen some incredible shorts, but they're just telling a thing. Whereas a screenplay, over the course of a whole movie, realize that you're telling an entire story. If you're writing, we're not going to spend as much time with this, but if you're writing a pilot for a comedy or for a drama, again, you're setting up a gargantuan story. You're not in the business of just telling the one joke or telling the one setup or wouldn't it be dramatic if, wouldn't it be tragic if, that's great, but what's the surrounding story? And then beyond that, I would say the best actors on the planet still have acting coaches. They still have people they go to up their game. They'll have audition coaches. They'll go amongst actor friends and say, here's what I'm working on. Can you give me some notes? And why would screenwriting be any different than that? Yeah. Anytime I get a chance to talk shop with a screenwriter, I am in. I still look up material and read words and advice from, really any, I'll go with a reputable source that I can get my hands on, because there's a lot to know.
Yeah, there is a lot to know. So one of the things that I love about your classes that you do is you're always very well prepared. Right, you have put so much thought into it, and then
I'm so glad it looks like that's true.
It does. Well, you must be a good actor then, right? No, but you are. You're very well prepared, and you're very engaging in your lessons, and you do use media. You use film clips and that sort of thing. Are there any film clips that you plan on using that we should know about in case we haven't seen the movie? Like, are there any spoiler alerts?
Oh gosh, I'm going to put out a list pretty soon on that. For instance, when we start talking about story types and story tropes, there's no way we can get around, movies with, the easy way to say it is twist. There are other more clever ways to talk about it. But, for instance, you have films like The Usual Suspects or Fight Club, that when you get to that third act moment, when you get to those last 10 pages, they flip your reality of what you've been watching the entire time. And it's such a common thing in screenplay, and we have to spend some time with it. But for instance, if you haven't seen Usual Suspects or Fight Club, at this point I feel pretty safe because those movies are old.
Yeah.
But it's going to be spoiled.
Yeah.
Because there's no way around it. And I'll put out a little list of films that I'm definitely going to spoil for you. I'm going to put out a list. I'm going to be doing these things before the class comes. Some films that I know I'm going to be spending time with, discussing, structure, what works, what didn't work, why is this considered great screenwriting. Princess Bride, for instance, by William Goldman, we'll be spending some time with. Also, Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid is also considered one of the great, screenplays of all time. So we'll have to be spending a little bit of time with that. And so there'll be a little list of, hey, I'm going to spoil this.
Okay.
And then also, hey, if you have the time, you might watch this. You won't have to, but if you have a minute. And I'm going to do my best to make sure whatever I list is on a major streamer to give people a shot, of being able to watch it.
That's good.
Not too much, though, because something I have learned in the past few years, no one does homework.
They don't, and they don't like to. They don't like to read all the details, too.
No.
So, yeah.
And moreover, and something I always say in my the acting classes is real life comes first. And so I want you to come to a class that I'm teaching, even the screenwriting, especially the screenwriting class, and be able to, by and large, show up at the beginning, walk away at the end. And I don't want to take up too much more time of your life. You're busy.
Yeah.
I mean, you're all busy. Everyone's busy. You're very busy. I don't want to take too much of that away. So I'm trying to do this with a minimal amount of homework, or the homework being something like, hey, in the next 5 weeks, can you, maybe watch The Princess Bride?
Yeah.
That's not too bad. It's 95 minutes of your life.
Yeah. My daughter, who's 11, has already seen it, I think, 4 times.
It's fantastic.
So you can, too.
Yeah.
So if I were taking it, which I'm not, but I should, but I'm not.
Yeah, I've read your writing. You should.
I've gotten a lot better since that one movie. I really have. But, because I read books.
Yeah.
And I watched videos about screenwriting, and I kind of studied the art, and I went, oh, that's the formula. Oh.
Yeah.
But anyway, so if I were going to take it, I would want to know, okay, I've written some stuff, and yes, we need to make sure it's better, but are you going to address, like, how to write a log line, and how to, like, some of the things that you have, like this brief synopsis?
I'm going to dive into not the synopsis as much,
but
because
the log line I struggle with.
Synopsis and long form synopses. We need a writer in here. Those are an odd piece, because a lot of times those exist based on the parameters of who wants it. Whereas a log line is pretty universal.
Yeah.
We are spending time in log lines for 2 reasons. One, because like you said, anytime you're going to pitch something, they want the log line.
They do.
And being able to take the whole of your story and put it in 2 sentences or so is an art unto itself that sometimes is easier than others. The classic example that I hear all the time is the log line for Liar Liar with Jim Carrey, because the log line for that whole movie is how does it go? It's a deceitful lawyer cannot lie for 24 hours.
Yeah.
And that's all you need. And then everything else, sort of goes out of that. But you really pitch everything in that space. But I also like covering log lines because a log line really is your first and second act in a sentence.
Okay.
And
I'm learning things already, you guys.
So by spending time with a log line in the creation of your product, you also learn what you're writing, because you're sort of boiling down your entire plot into the first 2 acts in 3 sentences, and that really helps guide you in terms of, well, what story am I telling? Because if you had the log line early enough, or at least the makings of it, it's a lot harder to sort of go off the reservation in your story.
Yeah.
And if you're looking for, do I need this? Do I not need this? Okay, well, I've got this nifty 3-sentence, 2-sentence. Does it fit? And so you can really work backwards with a log line as much as you can work forward with it.
Yeah.
You know, you can diagram out your first 2 acts and turn it into a sentence. You can take a sentence and diagram it out into the first 2 acts. Log lines are incredibly important, and not just because they want it. You know, it can be used as a tool, and I think they're great as a tool. So that's going to be something we actually spend some time with. Yeah.
Okay, cool. I wish I could. Maybe I'll come and just take that.
You should.
Portion of the class. Because I do struggle with it, especially like I'm like, okay, well, there's a summary. Okay, but my story's funny, and that log line is not funny. So, you know, keeping the tone with it.
Only so much you can do with that, to be honest.
I don't know.
And that's a great frustration.
Well, I think there's probably a game in there. Like, you get 10 people in the room, come up with a log line for this scenario.
Well, I'll tell you.
Who's the best?
This is maybe going a little off the rails as far as this particular deal. You know, a screenplay that I have that's been, you know, very successful that we're going to be spending some time with as an example of a structure, and I can illustrate a lot of points with it because I do know it so well. My screenplay, Katie Sterling, which is an adventure comedy. And I've won in Best Drama before for an adventure comedy. And then when I've gotten notes for it or intentionally, we'll talk about competitions, but intentionally joined a competition because it comes with coverage. I've gotten back, I'd say 30% of the time they even mention it's a comedy. And I can't honestly tell you if I'm going to roll back.
Okay, well, I'm probably not going to cut, so this is fun for you guys.
Oh, good. I'm real excited about that.
Less
I was
work
about
for
to say
me.
they couldn't tell that it was a comedy, which sounds bad to me.
Is
but
it
I'm
that
trying
part
to
of the
make
comedy?
It's part of the comedy,
Yeah.
which sounds bad about me, but I'm kind of putting it on the reader because the reader's looking for what they're looking for, and they're going to find it.
Yeah.
One of my favorite notes that I ever got, I got multiple pages on how my work was succeeding as a piece of feminist literature and how it was failing as a piece of feminist literature,
Of course.
and how I needed to adjust my goals. And what I wanted to say was, well, thank you very much for acknowledging the strong female lead, but that's not what we're doing here. It's an adventure comedy. You said 1885.
Yeah.
It's a romp.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to write feminist literature
Yeah.
here. I do like that you appreciate the fact that it's a strong, female lead, but these notes aren't going to do a whole lot for me.
They're not. And I've learned a lot of people just aren't actually funny. Like, they can watch a comedy once it's all, but they're not. And so if you have a reader who's not naturally a funny person, they're kind of looking for a fight to pick.
They are, and they're looking for dramas.
Yeah.
It's tough sledding when you bring a non-R-rated these days.
Right.
The rated R comedy can play, and then drama always plays. So, trying to drop something else into screenplay competition is, generally speaking, tough sledding.
It is. It's a risk.
Because it's not unlike the Academy Awards, where you're not going to win an Academy Award for a comedy.
Yeah.
You're not going to win it for, Ryan Reynolds is not going to win an Academy Award for Deadpool, and they just made I think they're up to like 1.2 billion globally.
Right.
I don't understand why that's less of a performance if you're bringing in 1.2
globally. It's because the people aren't funny who are judging the movies.
Yeah. So it's not all that different. I don't have it off the top of my head, but I like to bring. I was second place in a competition, and I like to bring the description of what won.
Yeah.
To show the contrast between the two and be like, I'm never winning that.
Yeah.
if that's what they're looking for,
right.
There's only so much you can do.
Yeah. Well, that's why when we won Best Comedy for Aria, that was such a refreshing moment, because I was like, oh, look, you have a Best Comedy.
Yeah.
I'm not. And then we got put into Best Feature, and we were up against Jesus Revolution.
Yeah, it's not
I'm like, okay, well, we're probably not going to win that.
Yeah.
But anyway, I digress. So to kind of wrap up this, people should come take your writing
I would really
boot
like them
camp.
to. That would be neat.
Yeah, they will learn. And I think, taking this sort of class, like taking an acting class, like, okay, so you've taken 10 classes before. Well, you can take another one. Like, it's continuously, you're continuously learning and growing. And I had an acting teacher once who was like, you can take the same acting class from me many times and you will learn something new.
Yeah.
And I think that's true with writing, especially with writing. I mean, why do we take English so much in school? You have so much to learn, and and one person's opinion might be different from another person's opinion, or you might go, oh, that actually clicked with my brain, whereas what that person said did not click with my brain.
Well, it's a big blender.
Yeah.
Where my craft, what I do, I'm bringing in a blend of, the first professional thing I ever bought on the subject is back in the 90s. I paid the money for, I've been sitting here while you're talking trying to remember the last name for sure. I think it's Fields. Sid Fields had a big writing, you're up at 3 a.m. and somehow or another this is the ad that you get, or I think it was early internet too, but it was his masterclass on writing comedy. So that's the first thing that I bought, and I still actually, some of the principles in that still go into what I write. But then beyond that, you have I've got Bird by Bird in there. I have On Writing by Stephen King, Max Landis, who apparently is an awful human being, but he has some excellent ideas on formatting a screenplay. There's, of course, Aaron Sorkin in there, if you know who I am. And more and more and more and more, because there's not one way up the mountain. And everybody has different, ideas that the greats all have something else that they've keyed in on. And I think they all have something to offer.
Right.
And when you start putting all that together, that's what I'm aiming for when back at the beginning of this, 3 hours ago.
I know. Who knows how long we've been talking?
No one knows. And when you cut this, it's going to be 8 seconds long.
I know. We were like, we don't have much to talk about.
Yeah. When we start, to circle it back to that, I like bringing all of these sources into the mix because that's the blend of art and science. You're going to have all of you like that? Yeah, acting classes, callbacks. But you have these greats, and they've found a way to make their particular science into art. And I can't think of any good reason not to take everything that they're giving us and learn it all. And homogenize that into our own way of creating art.
Well, thank you for coming.
Sure.
We're going to wrap this up now. Okay,
yeah,
so
and if you're still here, God bless you.
I know. So I'm pretty sure this one's going to go on the YouTube because it's a little lengthy. So please subscribe. And I don't even, I teach acting class, and I'm looking at this camera, which is on you. So I'm going to look at that camera. Hey, please subscribe. And because we're trying to make more videos so that all of you lovely actors out there who want to know more about the art and want to know more about filmmaking in general, have resources and videos to watch so you can learn from people like Jason. So thanks for coming.
Yeah, I write good.